Humanity's first interstellar war had begun, and the Graxian Empire was about to learn why humans had spent so much time imagining this very moment. They weren't just ready for this fight, they had been looking forward to it. Supreme Commander Vex Terra's flagship limped behind Mars' largest moon, Phobos, as emergency repairs continued. The first 6 hours of combat had shattered every preconception she held about primitive species. Her neural interface pinged with another damage report. 3 more destroyers lost to what the humans called kinetic bombardment platforms, hidden in the asteroid belt. How? She demanded, her scales now a mottled pattern of stress and rage. How did we miss their true capabilities? Callan, working frantically at his station, pulled up historical data. Supreme Commander, we made a critical error. We monitored their official space programs, their visible military capabilities, but we ignored their cultural output. Their entertainment wasn't mere fiction. It was a planet-wide thought experiment in defeating superior forces. On the main view screen, another Graxian cruiser disappeared in a flash of light. The humans had fitted their primitive nuclear weapons onto automated drones that mimicked space debris. When Graxian ships approached to clear the debris field, the drones would activate and detonate at point-blank range. They're not fighting according to any known doctrine, Callan continued. Each of their defense zones operates independently, yet somehow maintains perfect coordination. They're using methods we abandoned millennia ago, combined with technologies we never thought to develop. In the outer solar system, Admiral Sarah Rodriguez directed Earth's deep space defense from her flagship, the ESS Magellan. The vessel, like all of humanity's capital ships, appeared to be a simple ice mining platform to casual observation. Now it revealed its true nature, a hybrid of human ingenuity and reversed-engineered alien technology, gathered from decades of studying crashed scout ships that the Graxians had never missed. Status of Operation Chameleon, she asked her tactical officer. Chinese Space Force reports successful deployment of solar flare predictors. Admiral, they're using coronal mass ejections to mask their movements near Mercury. Indian Space Command has their quantum entanglement scramblers at full power. Graxian communications are degrading by the hour. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Graxians had expected to find a primitive species barely able to reach their own moon. Instead, they found an enemy that had spent generations preparing for this exact scenario. Every failed space mission of the past 50 years had been a cover for deploying weapons and sensors. Every international space station had secretly been a military installation in disguise. In Limmer orbit, General Zhang Wei coordinated the defense of Earth's gravity well. His forces had trained for years in virtual reality simulations modeled on every alien invasion story humans had ever conceived. Now that training paid off as Earth's combined space forces executed maneuvers that looked chaotic to Graxian tactical computers, but followed patterns practiced countless times in simulation. They're trying to establish a beachhead in low Earth orbit, his tactical AI reported. Conventional invasion doctrine calls for overwhelming force in a single location. Zhang nodded. Exactly as expected. Execute Protocol Independence Day. Across Earth's orbit, hundreds of seemingly defunct satellites suddenly activated. But instead of attacking, they began broadcasting. Every frequency, every wavelength, a cacophony of signals that overwhelmed the Graxians' sensitive quantum sensors. In the confusion, Earth's true defense platforms emerged from hiding. The Graxian invasion fleet found itself caught in a three-dimensional chess game where all the rules they knew were wrong. Their superior shields were useless against weapons designed to bypass them. Their advanced targeting systems were blinded by electronic warfare techniques, so primitive their computers couldn't properly process them. Back on the Eternal Dominance, Vex Terra received the reports with growing horror. 3 more capital ships lost in the asteroid belt. 2 fleet carriers ambushed near Jupiter by ships that seemed to appear from nowhere, using the gas giant's radiation belts as cover. And now their attempt to establish orbital superiority over Earth was falling apart. Supreme Commander, Callan's voice carried an edge of desperation. "I've completed my analysis of their historical records. Every major Earth nation has maintained plans for this scenario for over a century. What we thought were entertainment venues were actually training facilities. Their video games were combat simulators. Their movies were strategy sessions. They've been preparing their entire population for this moment since before they split the atom." Vexterra watched as another wave of debris camouflage drones approached her fleet. But this time, instead of carrying nuclear weapons, they broadcast a simple message on all frequencies: "Welcome to Earth." The message was followed by a barrage that demonstrated humanity's true art of war, the ability to turn anything and everything into a weapon. The Graxian Empire was about to learn why humans had spent so much time imagining this exact scenario, and why their seemingly primitive technology was exactly what they needed to win. Dr. Amara Okafor stood in her underground laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert, surrounded by holographic displays showing the remnants of a captured Graxian scout ship. Her team had spent the last 72 hours reverse engineering its systems, and what they found made her laugh out loud. "They've been using the same basic technology for over 500 years," she announced to the gathered scientists. "Their quantum computers are advanced, yes, but they're optimized for processing complex calculations in predictable patterns. They literally can't handle chaos." The implications were staggering. Humanity's greatest weakness, its messy, unpredictable nature, had become its greatest strength. While the Graxians had perfected a single path of technological development, humans had explored countless alternatives, creating a technological arsenal that defied conventional logic. In orbit around Saturn, Admiral Rodriguez watched the tactical display as another Graxian battle group fell into a carefully prepared trap. Earth ships, using a combination of primitive chemical rockets and salvaged alien tech, emerged from hiding spots in the planet's rings. Their hybrid drives created energy signatures that confused Graxian sensors, making one ship appear to be many, or many appear to be none. "Status of Operation Hydra," she asked her command staff. "Chinese-Indian Joint Task Force reports successful deployment of quantum interference pods throughout the inner solar system," her XO reported. "Every time the Graxians try to use their FTL communications, the signal gets scrambled. They're being forced to use light-speed communications, just like us." Rodriguez nodded. "And how are they handling that?" "Poorly, Admiral. Their command structure is completely hierarchical. They don't know how to operate independently." Meanwhile, in the Graxian flagship, Supreme Commander Vexterra was facing a crisis she had never trained for. With their quantum communications network disrupted, her fleet was forced to rely on primitive radio signals and light-speed communications. The resulting delays were catastrophic for an empire used to instantaneous coordination. Another destroyer group lost in the Jovian sector, Kalin reported, his scales now permanently tinged with the blue of distress. "The humans, they're not just using our own technology against us. They're combining it with their primitive systems in ways our tactical computers can't predict." Vexterra watched the tactical display in growing despair. The humans had turned the entire solar system into a weapon. They used solar flares as cover, asteroid fields as ambush points, and gas giant radiation belts as sensor screens. Even their primitive nuclear weapons had been modified with salvaged Graxian tech to create hybrid devices that bypassed Imperial shields. In the Kuiper Belt, humanity's deep space defense platforms began their final phase of deployment. These stations, disguised as ice mining operations, had been preparing for this moment for decades. Each one contained a combination of human and reverse-engineered alien technology, creating defense systems that operated outside the bounds of conventional Graxian military doctrine. Dr. Okafor's voice crackled over the quantum-encrypted communication channel. "Admiral Rodriguez, we've cracked their shield harmonics. Their defensive systems are designed to handle either extremely advanced energy weapons or primitive projectiles. They never considered we might use both simultaneously." Rodriguez smiled. Initiate Operation Thunder Run. All ships switch to hybrid warfare protocols. Across the solar system, Earth's forces began their counterattack. Ships equipped with both chemical rockets and salvaged alien drives launched synchronized strikes. Modified nuclear weapons were followed by quantum-tipped projectiles. Each attack combined technologies in ways the Graxians had never imagined possible. The results were devastating. Imperial ships, their computers unable to process the conflicting sensor data, fell one by one to weapons their advanced systems couldn't properly classify. The rigid Graxian command structure, already strained by the loss of FTL communications, began to break down completely. In her laboratory, Dr. Okafor made another breakthrough. Their entire technology base is built on quantum computing, she explained to the United Earth Defense Council. But they never developed traditional digital systems beyond a basic level. They don't have any defense against old-school computer viruses. Chairman Chen's eyes widened at the implications. You mean? Yes, Okafor grinned. We're about to show them why you should never underestimate primitive technology. Initiate Operation Legacy Code. As the virus, written in a programming language centuries old by Graxian standards, began to spread through the Imperial fleet's quantum networks, Vexterra watched in horror as ship after ship went dark. The humans hadn't just prepared for this war, they had turned their entire technological history into a weapon. The tide hadn't just turned, it had become a tsunami, and the Graxian Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its ability to copy advanced technology, but its ability to find new ways to use every tool at its disposal, no matter how primitive those tools might seem. The Grand Imperial Council chamber aboard the Eternal Dominance had never felt so cold. Supreme Commander Vexterra stood before the holographic projections of the Empire's highest authorities, her scales dulled to a lifeless gray as she delivered the unthinkable, a report of failure. The humans, she began, her voice hollow. They are not what we thought they were. We didn't just underestimate their military capability. We fundamentally misunderstood their entire species. The Imperial Archon's image flickered, its crystalline form radiating disapproval. Explain how a primitive species has brought our finest fleet to the brink of destruction. In the background, another explosion rocked the flagship. The humans had begun targeting their quantum communication arrays with specialized electromagnetic pulses, slowly isolating each Graxian ship from the collective. They think differently, Callan interjected, stepping forward despite protocol. While we perfected our technology along a single path, they explored countless alternatives. Their apparent technological inferiority masked a devastating adaptability. On the tactical displays, the evidence of humanity's unconventional warfare continued to mount. Earth ships now moved with perfect coordination, despite the humans' supposedly primitive command structure. They had learned to mimic Graxian quantum signatures, creating ghost fleets that drew Imperial forces into carefully planned ambushes. Their entire history, Vexterra continued, is a chronicle of adaptation through conflict. Where we sought perfection and unity, they found strength in diversity. Every defeat teaches them. Every setback makes them stronger. In the Orc Cloud, Admiral Rodriguez coordinated with the newly established Xenotech Integration Command. Dr. Okafor's teams had not only reverse-engineered Graxian technology, they had improved upon it. Earth vessels now carried hybrid drives that combined the efficiency of alien quantum mechanics with the raw power of human nuclear fusion. They're retreating to the outer system, Rodriguez observed, watching the Graxian fleet's disorganized withdrawal. Their command structure is breaking down. They can't adapt to decentralized warfare. On Earth, the United Defense Council received reports from deep space listening posts. The Graxian communication channels, now decrypted thanks to their outdated quantum protocols, revealed a military force in psychological crisis. Their entire society is built on the assumption of technological superiority, Dr. Okafor explained to the Council. Each defeat doesn't just damage their military capability, it shatters their worldview. Back on the Eternal Dominance, The Imperial Council struggled to comprehend their situation. Centuries of unchallenged expansion had left them unprepared for an enemy that refused to fight according to established protocols. How do they coordinate without central control? One counselor demanded. How do they innovate without unified direction? It defies all logical military doctrine. Callan's sensor stalks drooped as he displayed the latest analysis. They don't just embrace chaos, they weaponize it. Each Earth nation develops different technologies, different tactics. Instead of creating weakness, this diversity makes them impossible to predict. The psychological impact spread through the Imperial fleet like a virus. Ships' crews, taught from birth that technological superiority guaranteed victory, found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy that combined primitive and advanced technology in ways their training never prepared them for. Another battle group lost in the Kuiper Belt, Callan reported. They've developed some kind of hybrid weapon, combining their nuclear devices with elements of our quantum technology. Our shields, they're useless. Vexterra watched as her fleet, the pride of the Empire, continued to disintegrate. The humans hadn't just beaten their technology, they had broken their spirit. Every defeated ship, every failed tactic, further eroded the psychological foundation of Graxian superiority. We built our civilization on the assumption that technological progress follows a single, predictable path, she told the Council. The humans proved that assumption false. Their strength lies not in perfection, but in their endless capacity for adaptation. In the debris field that had once been the front line of the invasion, Earth ships recovered Graxian wreckage for study. Each captured piece of technology would be analyzed, improved upon, and combined with human innovation in ways the Empire never imagined possible. The Imperial Archon's hologram flickered as it processed the implications. If we cannot defeat them now, they will only grow stronger, Vexterra finished. Each piece of our technology they capture, each tactic they learn to counter, makes them more formidable. They don't just learn from victory, they learn from failure, a concept our society has forgotten. The psychological victory proved as devastating as the military one. The Empire had built its identity on technological supremacy, only to face an enemy that turned technological diversity into an unstoppable force. As the Graxian fleet retreated in disarray, they carried with them a terrible realization. They had awakened something far more dangerous than a primitive species. They had encountered a civilization that thrived on challenges, that turned adversity into advantage, and that had spent its entire history preparing for this moment, not through strategic planning, but through the chaotic, creative process of imagining every possible way they might one day face the stars. 2 weeks into what should have been a routine conquest, the Graxian Empire faced an unprecedented crisis. The Eternal Dominance, once the pride of the Imperial fleet, drifted at the edge of the solar system, its quantum core barely functioning after the latest human assault. Supreme Commander Vexterra stood before the emergency session of the Imperial Council, no longer concerned with maintaining the proper posture of authority. "We must withdraw," she stated, her scales now permanently dulled. "Not just from this system, but from this entire sector of space." The humans, Callan added, displaying the latest tactical analysis. They've begun launching ships beyond their system's boundaries. Ships that combine our technology with innovations we never considered. They're not just defending their world anymore. They're preparing to expand. On Earth, the United Defense Council had convened its own historic session. Representatives from every nation watched as Admiral Rodriguez delivered her report via quantum-enhanced hologram, the technology now refined beyond its Graxian origins. "The enemy fleet is in full retreat," she announced. "But more importantly, we've confirmed that the Graxian Empire has begun withdrawing forces from neighboring systems. They're establishing a quarantine zone around our entire sector." Dr. Okafor stepped forward, her eyes bright with excitement. "The technological advances we've made in just these 2 weeks have propelled us forward by centuries. But it's not just about the technology, it's how we use it." Chairman Chen nodded. We've proven that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to work together while maintaining our unique approaches and perspectives. Across the solar system, the evidence of this truth was impossible to ignore. American ingenuity had combined with Chinese precision, European theory had merged with African innovation, and South American tactical doctrine had blended with Asian strategic thinking. Each nation had contributed its unique strengths to create a defense that no single approach could have achieved. In the Kuiper Belt, Earth's new hybrid ships began their patrols. Their hulls, built with a combination of traditional materials and reverse-engineered Graxian crystalline structures, housed weapons systems that represented the best of both worlds. Crews trained in virtual combat scenarios now operated technology that their simulators had only imagined months ago. Another gift of our diversity, Dr. Okafor explained to the Council. While the Graxians saw our different approaches as primitive chaos, it was actually perfect preparation for adapting their technology. Every nation looked at their systems from a different angle, found different ways to improve them. The Imperial retreat turned into a rout as Earth's forces demonstrated their newfound capabilities. Ships that combined nuclear pulse drives with quantum field generators outmaneuvered the finest Imperial vessels. Weapons that merged primitive ballistic principles with advanced energy manipulation bypassed defenses designed to handle one or the other, but never both. On the Eternal Dominance, Vex Terra received the final reports from her scattered fleet. "They're not just forcing us out," she told the Council. "They're learning from every engagement. Our tactical database indicates they've already developed countermeasures to strategies we haven't even deployed yet." "How?" demanded the Imperial Archon. "Because they never stopped imagining possibilities," Callan answered. "Every piece of fiction, every game, every simulation they created was another scenario they had already thought through. We brought centuries of refined technology to this battle. They brought millennia of human imagination." As the last Graxian ships disappeared into hyperspace, humanity celebrated not just a victory, but a transformation. The combined Earth fleet, now equipped with hybridized technology and crewed by veterans of humanity's first interstellar war, began establishing a defense perimeter that extended far beyond their solar system. In her laboratory, Dr. Okafor examined the latest breakthrough, a propulsion system that combined Graxian quantum principles with human theoretical physics in ways the Empire had never considered. "They thought their technology was perfect," she mused. "They never understood that perfection is the enemy of progress." Admiral Rodriguez, standing on the bridge of humanity's first true star cruiser, watched as the combined fleet took up its defensive positions. Ships bearing the flags of every Earth nation, powered by technology that represented the best of human and alien innovation, stood ready to defend not just their world, but their unique place in the galaxy. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "Operation Stellar Shield is now active. And send a message to the Graxian Empire in all frequencies, in every language of Earth. This is just the beginning." In the aftermath of humanity's first interstellar victory, the United Earth Defense Council established the Tsenov Technology Integration Command as a permanent institution. Its mission was not just to defend Earth, but to prepare humanity for its next great adventure. The exploration of the stars not as a conquered species, but as a force that had proven itself capable of facing any challenge the galaxy might present. The Graxian Empire had arrived expecting to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant and filled it with a terrible resolve, not just to survive, but to thrive among the stars. As humanity looked to the future, they carried with them the lesson that had won their first interstellar war. True strength lies not in perfection, but in the endless capacity to adapt, innovate, and imagine what might be possible.